of this conversation, you spoke about with your own experience where your friend handed you the thing and then you 3 days before and etc. And there's been a series of luck points
Yeah.
that have led you to be where you are now. And then interesting because when you talk about this, like you talk about the specificity that you do everything with, it's like you take the luck out of the equation now. So we're going to get super specific. Is there, other than the how do I phrase it even? Is there other, like, so you and Rare and you've got your program, you're doing what you're doing to target these black students and, you know, create a bit more of an equitable university experience for them when they do get to Oxbridge. Is there anything you feel that these educational institutions or maybe schooling systems, university, etc., should be doing differently to help these black students as well, again, to try and take that luck out of the equation?
Oh, yes. I mean, things have shifted over time, but when I started Target Oxbridge, not all, there were some teachers who were brilliant and super supportive, but we made sure that the program was one that students could apply to independently. Because at that time, and this is, you know, sort of over a decade ago now, but at that time there were some cases where students were being told Oxbridge isn't for you. And they would say, but, you know, I have the grades, but I've been told that I can't join the Oxbridge group because some of the schools had a sense of who was an Oxbridge worthy candidate and who wasn't. And so I would have students coming to me and saying, I've been told I'm not allowed to apply or I'm not allowed to join the special Oxbridge group. And we were a space that would take those students and make sure that they got that support. I think the narrative has changed quite a bit now about who does and doesn't get to go to Oxbridge, and it's changed. But I think teachers sometimes had their own preconceptions about Oxbridge that they've carried with them. I think sometimes that racism was present within the school system. And so the low expectations, which, you know, have been evidenced within schools, was playing out. And it plays out in these different ways. And some of that was, oh, you know, don't think you're the right fit for this. Not necessarily with any evidence for that statement, but there's power there and it can be wielded. And in the early days, I saw it being wielded in a way that meant students of Black heritage were being excluded from those opportunities. Things thankfully have shifted, not to say they've shifted everywhere, but I see that less now than I used to, thankfully. It's still present, unfortunately. And so I think there's work for schools to do on tackling racism and bias within schools, and that comes in for predictions. So there's evidence that students from lower income backgrounds and Black students more likely to be from that type of background will be under-predicted if they're sort of a high-performing student, but they might have that lower prediction, which can become a big problem if you're aiming for Russell Group universities. And there's, you know, statistics around exclusion rates and Black Caribbean students, for example, being massively overrepresented within those exclusions. And so I think there's a lot of work there to be done still. I think if you look at the school population, school students is about 36% ethnic minority within schools. But if you look at the teaching population, it's about 85% white. And so we can, of course, be inspired by and be taught by people from all different backgrounds, but having a teaching population that doesn't reflect the population of students, I think there is a bit of a mismatch there sometimes in terms of the role modeling that's happening within the school environment. And so teacher recruitment is a challenge for many reasons at the moment, but I think for the future, that is something that would be helpful in terms of addressing over time.
I read